Welcome back to Learn English with Bible Sparkle. I'm Maya.
And I'm Jake. We're so glad you're here with us today. How are you feeling, Maya?
I'm feeling great, Jake, and I'm really excited about today's lesson because we're going to learn how to compare things in English.
Comparing things is something we do all the time in everyday conversation, isn't it?
Absolutely. We compare people, places, things, ideas, everything. And English has very specific structures for making comparisons.
So, what story are we studying today?
Today, we're looking at the story of the Tower of Babel from Genesis chapter 11. This is a fascinating story about human ambition and God's response to it.
The Tower of Babel. I remember this story. The people wanted to build a really tall tower, right?
That's right. They wanted to build the highest tower, reaching all the way to heaven. And this story is perfect for learning how to compare things in English because it's full of comparisons.
Like comparing the tower to other buildings?
Exactly. And comparing materials, comparing ambitions, comparing what was good versus what was better or best.
So, what are we focusing on grammatically?
We're focusing on two key grammar structures, comparatives and superlatives.
Okay, can you break that down for our listeners?
Sure. Comparatives are used to compare two things. For example, this tower is taller than that house.
So, taller than is the comparative form.
Exactly. And superlatives are used to compare one thing to an entire group. For example, it is the tallest building in the city.
The tallest. That means it's taller than all the other buildings.
Perfect understanding. So comparatives compare two things, and superlatives identify the extreme in a group, the most, the best, the highest, the worst.
I can already see how useful this is going to be.
It really is. And by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to use comparatives and superlatives naturally in your own conversations. All right, Jake, let's start with comparatives. These are the forms we use when we're comparing two things.
Two things. Got it. So if I'm comparing my coffee to your coffee, I'd use a comparative.
Exactly. You might say, my coffee is hotter than yours, or your coffee is stronger than mine.
Hotter and stronger, those are both comparatives.
Right. Now, here's the thing. We form comparatives differently depending on the length of the adjective.
The length? You mean how many syllables it has?
Exactly. Let's look at the rules. First, we have short adjectives. These are adjectives with one or two syllables.
Like tall, big, fast, nice?
Perfect examples. For these short adjectives, we simply add er to the end. So tall becomes taller, big becomes bigger, fast becomes faster.
And then we add than after it, right? The tower was taller than the houses.
Exactly. The word than is crucial in comparatives. It connects the two things you're comparing.
What about longer adjectives, like beautiful or expensive?
Great question. For longer adjectives, those with two or more syllables, we don't add er. Instead, we put the word more before the adjective.
So it would be more beautiful than, not beautifuler than.
Exactly. Beautifuler isn't a word. It's more beautiful than, or more expensive than, more difficult than, more important than.
That makes sense. So the structure is more plus the adjective plus than.
Perfect. Let me give you an example from our story. The bricks were more useful than the mud.
More useful, because useful is a longer adjective.
Exactly. Now there's one more category we need to talk about, irregular comparatives.
Irregular? Oh no, I don't like the sound of that.
Don't worry, there are only a few important ones. These are adjectives that change completely when they become comparative.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure, good becomes better, not gooder or more good.
Right, this is better than that.
And bad becomes worse, not badder or more bad.
The weather today is worse than yesterday.
Perfect. Another important one is far, which becomes farther or further.
I can run farther than you.
Exactly. And one more. Little becomes less. I have less money than you.
These irregular ones just have to be memorized, right?
Yes, but the good news is there aren't very many of them, and you'll use them so often that they'll become natural very quickly.
Let me practice. Can you give me some adjectives and I'll make them comparative?
Great idea. Okay, first one, strong.
That's a short adjective, so I add er. Stronger than.
Perfect. Next one, intelligent.
That's longer, so I use more. More intelligent than.
Excellent. How about good?
That's irregular. Better than.
You've got it. One more, careful.
Careful is 2 syllables. I think it's more careful than.
Exactly right. Now, there's one spelling rule I should mention for short adjectives.
What's that?
If a short adjective ends in one vowel plus one consonant, we double the final consonant before adding er.
Can you give an example?
Sure, big becomes bigger, not biger.
We double the G. Oh, I see. So hot becomes hotter with double T.
Exactly. And sad becomes sadder, thin becomes thinner.
That's a helpful rule to know.
It is. And now that we understand comparatives, let's move on to superlatives. All right, Jake. Now let's talk about superlatives. These are the forms we use when we want to identify the extreme in a group.
The extreme, like the most or the least?
Exactly. When you want to say that something is number one in a category, the biggest, the smallest, the best, the most expensive, you use a superlative.
So instead of comparing just 2 things, we're comparing one thing to everything else?
Perfect understanding. The good news is that superlatives follow very similar rules to comparatives.
So for short adjectives, we add something to the end, right?
Exactly. For short adjectives, we add est instead of er. So tall becomes tallest, big becomes biggest, fast becomes fastest.
And we use the word the before it, right? The tallest building?
Exactly. The word the is crucial with superlatives. We always say the tallest, the biggest, the fastest.
What about longer adjectives?
For longer adjectives, instead of using more, we use most. So beautiful becomes the most beautiful, expensive becomes the most expensive.
So the structure is the most plus the adjective, the most important thing.
Perfect. Let me give you an example from our story. The people wanted the most famous name.
The most famous, because famous is a longer adjective.
Exactly. Now, what about irregular adjectives? If good becomes better in the comparative, what do you think it becomes in the superlative?
The bestest?
Nice try, but it's actually just the best. No est at the end, just best.
Oh, so good, better, best.
Exactly. And bad, worse, worst.
This is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Perfect example. The irregular ones are the same ones we learned for comparatives. They just have a different superlative form.
So far becomes farthest or furthest.
Exactly. This is the furthest I've ever traveled.
I'm starting to see the pattern. Let me practice. How about cold?
That's a short adjective, so...
The coldest. Today is the coldest day of the year.
Perfect. How about interesting?
That's longer, so the most interesting. This is the most interesting book I've read.
Excellent. You've got it. Now let's see these structures in action in the story of the Tower of Babel.
Before we read the passage, Maya, can you give us some context about the Tower of Babel?
Absolutely. This story takes place in the very early chapters of Genesis, probably a few generations after Noah's flood.
So the world was being repopulated.
Exactly. And at this time, the whole world had one language. Everyone spoke the same language and used the same words.
That's fascinating. So communication wasn't a problem at all.
Right. And the people settled in a plain in Shinar, which is in modern-day Iraq in the region of ancient Babylon.
And they decided to build a city there.
Yes, and not just a city, they wanted to build a tower that would reach to the heavens.
Why did they want to do that?
The text tells us they wanted to make a name for themselves. It was about human pride, ambition, and self-glorification. They wanted to be famous and powerful.
So it wasn't about worshiping God, it was about glorifying themselves.
Exactly. And they were also afraid of being scattered over the face of the whole earth. They wanted to stay together in one place, which was actually against God's command to fill the earth.
So this was an act of rebellion.
In a sense, yes, it was humans trying to reach heaven on their own terms through their own efforts.
And what happened?
God came down, confused their language, and scattered them across the earth, the very thing they were trying to avoid.
Wow, that's a powerful story.
It is. And now let's read the passage and see how comparatives and superlatives appear in it.
All right, let's read from Genesis chapter 11, verses 3 and 4. I'll read slowly so everyone can follow along.
And we'll have the text on screen for you as well.
Here we go. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar instead of mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth."
Thank you, Jake. Now let's analyze this passage and see where we can use comparatives and superlatives.
So where do we start?
Let's start with analysis 1, the building materials. Notice that the people are making choices about what materials to use.
Right. They used brick instead of stone and tar instead of mortar.
Exactly. So they were comparing different materials. Let's practice making comparative sentences about this.
Okay, so we could say the people thought brick was more durable than stone.
Perfect. More durable, because durable is a longer adjective. What about tar and mortar?
They thought tar was better than mortar.
Excellent. Better is the irregular comparative form of good. Now let's think about why they might have preferred these materials.
Maybe brick was easier to make than stone?
Great comparative. Easier. We add ER to easy, but notice we change the Y to I first.
Oh, that's a good spelling rule.
It is. So easy becomes easier, happy becomes happier, busy becomes busier. All right, listeners, we've learned a lot today, and we'll continue with the Tower of Babel, Build Better English with Comparatives and Superlatives episode next week. Don't miss part 2 to learn more.
We have a fun assignment for you this week.
We want you to write 3 sentences in the comments, 1 using a comparative, 1 using a superlative, and 1 using both.
You can write about anything, your day, your family, your city, your favorite food. Just use the grammar structures we learned today.
Here are some examples to inspire you. Comparative. Learning English is harder than I expected, but it's more rewarding too.
Superlative. Today was the best day of my week because I understood this grammar lesson.
And both. English grammar is more challenging than my native language, but it's the most useful skill I'm learning.
We can't wait to read your sentences. And remember, if you make a mistake, that's okay. Mistakes are how we learn.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and subscribe to our podcast.
Keep learning English with Bible Sparkle.
Don't forget your homework.
See you next time.